Welcome to Moments with Marianne. This is your host, Marianne Pastana. And we're here today with special guest, Mike Cobb, who's here to share with us his new book, You Will Know Me by My Deeds. So is there a decades-old case that holds the keys to new truths that has yet to be investigated? Well, today's guest is here to share with us just that. Mike Cobb is a writer, a native Atlantan, and a student of history. His body of literary work includes both fiction and nonfiction, short form and long form, as well as articles and blogs. While he's comfortable playing across a broad range of genres and topics, much of his focus is on historical fiction, Southern literary fiction, crime fiction, and true crime. Rigorous research is foundational to his writing. He gets that, honestly, having spent much of his professional career as a scientist. So welcome to the show, Mike Cobb.
Great to be here, Marianne. Thank you.
Well, what an honor it is to have you here and to talk about this book. What inspired you to write this?
Well, You Will Know Me by My Deeds is actually the sequel to a prior book called The Devil You Knew. And the Atlanta child murders, which I remember quite well because I was living in Atlanta during that time, have always intrigued me. And the Atlanta child murders played a minor role in The Devil You Knew. But as I embarked on the sequel, You Will Know Me by My Deeds, I realized that I wanted to really build that story around the Atlanta child murders. So my books are all historical fiction. I often describe them as a page-turning fictional story built on top of a factual foundation. And the factual foundation in this case is the dreadful 3-year event in Atlanta when over 20 Black children went missing. And I spent quite a few years researching it and became convinced that the person who is serving time right now, he was never convicted for killing any of the children, but the person who is currently serving time in prison in Georgia likely did not kill all of the Black kids. And that's really what was the inspiration for that foundational part of the book.
Well, it's so interesting now with the ability that people are doing with research to be able to really hone in on these cases and bringing to light things that otherwise were probably lost. When you were doing your research, was there something that really stood out for you?
Yes. So I think the couple of things that stood out for me the most were, one, what I just mentioned to you a minute ago, that Wayne Williams, who is doing time, was convicted of killing 2 adults. He was never convicted of killing any of the Black children. But once he was convicted of killing the 2 adults and sent off to prison, he was pretty much convicted in the court of public opinion for killing all of the Black children, which I found somewhat astounding. And then as I dug and as I did more and more research, I discovered that a couple of journalists had uncovered a story which is truly shocking. And it's a key part of the book, so I won't go into it in great detail, but they uncovered a story about a family in Atlanta who had a stated objective of killing Black children to foment race riots. And I think of all the research I did, that probably was the most astounding finding, and it really was the catalyst, if you will, for my writing, You Will Know Me by My Deeds.
Has anyone from like the DA's office or any of the investigators that had been on the case reached out to you in regards to your findings?
They have not. I will tell you that the prior mayor of Atlanta, the mayor just before the one who is now mayor, had ordered that the case be reopened and that DNA evidence be collected and analyzed. Bear in mind that in 79, 80, and 81, there was not, DNA analysis was really not a thing yet. So she ordered that the case be reopened, but really nothing has become of it, which is another fact in all of this that sort of has given me pause. No one has reached out to me. I'll be honest with you. Most of the Most of the authorities who were involved at the time are retired, no longer involved. Given that all of this happened 24, 25 years ago, nobody has reached out to me at this point.
Well, I would hope that they do because I think that this is a case that really does need to be reopened. I mean, and as you were writing this case with such profound, the discoveries that you've made and really weaving in this historical events into fiction, I mean, how did you balance that?
Well, it's always difficult. Writing historical fiction is a challenge in the sense that you have to somehow find a balance between historical fact and weaving a compelling story. And one of the challenges is making sure that you don't let the facts get in the way of the story, if you will. So the overarching fictional story is about two of the main characters from The Devil You Knew, a husband and wife named Billy and Cynthia Tarwater, and someone is out to get them. They don't know who. They don't know whether it's related to what happened that's outlined in the prior book, or whether it's somehow related to the Atlanta child murders, or both. And so they embark on a journey of twists and turns and red herrings, trying to get to the bottom of whoever is out to get them. And so I've basically crafted that story on top of the Atlanta child murders story, and just sort of you just weave the two together and somehow it works. I mean, it's that's one of the things I love about writing historical fiction, actually, is figuring out how to interweave a compelling fictional story with historical facts.
Now, are these characters influenced by any real people, by the way?
Yes, some of them are, some of them are not. Some of them are definitely based on real people. Is in fact, several of the main characters, not Billy and Cynthia, but several of the main characters are basically highly influenced by the actual people that were reported by these two journalists that broke the story. So yes, there is some factual underpinning, if you will, to some of the characters. Others are, just completely made up.
Were you able to connect with any of the victims' family members?
I have reached out to a couple of them, but I never heard back. Actually, a lot of them are deceased as well. There are a couple that I would like to make contact with, but I have not been able to yet.
Well, that's always can be a challenge. I understand that.
Yes.
Well, on that note, we're going to pause here for a quick break. We've been speaking with Mike Cobb in regards to his new historical novel, You Will Know Me by My Deeds. You've been listening to Moments with Marianne. We'll be right back after these messages from our sponsors.
Are you an author, speaker, or expert who is looking for more publicity? Visit radioguestlist.com and sign up for free interview requests from shows looking for guests. Radio Guest List is the #1 free booking resource for radio, podcasts, and TV talk shows who are looking for experts like you right now. Visit radioguestlist.com and sign up today to get the visibility you deserve.
There comes a moment when you realize you're somewhere special. When you discover that each beautiful creature that you see has been rescued from a life of absolute horror and brought to this incredibly free place. Here's where their lives were forever changed and where yours will as well. Discover over 500 tigers, bears, and lions at the brand new visitor center at the Wild Animal Sanctuary just outside Denver. For more information, visit wildanimalsanctuary.org. Discover true freedom at the Wild Animal Sanctuary.
It's one thing to become attached to your perfect home, but what do you do when that home becomes attached to you? A family in dire need of a fresh start, a mysterious house tied to the past. Buried deep within the foundation of the old Far Hill Manor lies a centuries-old secret. Dark forces or something stronger just waiting to be discovered. Caretaker, a supernatural thriller by breakout authors R.J. Halpert.
Internationally recognized and award-winning author Judy Goodman works and teaches outside the box of limited thinking. Working with people from every walk of life, her goal is to empower you to be the best you can be, no matter what the challenge is. Born with the gift of seeing beyond our normal vision, she has an extraordinary gift of working with every challenge. Teaching beyond conventional wisdom, her work is described as life-changing. Visit judygoodman.com. That's judygoodman.com.
I'd like to thank Jason Eastwood at Guitarfulness for sharing his inspiring music and talent with us. His music is known worldwide for cultivating atmospheres of harmony, inner peace, and clarity. Visit Jason's website at guitarfulness.com. Join his newsletter, be part of his community, and download his music. Welcome back to Moments with Marianne. We're here today with special guest, Mike Cobb, who's here to share with us his historical novel, You Will Know Me by My Deeds. So how does this novel explore race relations in the South, especially during this era?
Well, much of the book is about race relations. Just to give you a little more detail, which is, I'm not giving anything away because it's actually spelled out some in the prologue in the book. This family that the journalist discovered was a Klan family. They were a prominent Klan family in Atlanta. They were avowed racists, and as I mentioned earlier, they had a stated objective of killing one black child a month in order to foment race riots. Now, according to the work that these journalists did, allegedly the Atlanta police, the GBI, and the FBI were aware of this because there was an informer who was actually planted in with this Klan group and reported back that they had this mission of killing black children. And according to the journalists who broke the story, the authorities allegedly were scared to death that if the word got out that members of the Klan were killing black children, that it would indeed foment race riots in the city. And so the journalists, according to the journalists, these authorities allegedly basically sat on the story. And once Wayne Williams was convicted of killing the two adults, and admittedly, the killings did stop at that point. But once he was arrested and convicted of killing the two adults and sent off to prison, the authorities pretty much closed the case and assumed that he had killed all of the black children and pretty much washed their hands of it. Now, these are the allegations that were made by the journalists, and this is the basis for my fictional story, or at least the basis for a big part of it.
Well, it is a very profound read how you've interwoven all of this together. It's so masterfully done. So I have to really just commend you for that because it's so well done. And it's a very difficult topic, I would think, to write. But, as an author, I mean, how was that for you? Because, I mean, I look at this and you've done a beautiful job bringing this all together. I would think it's really difficult to do that.
Well, it's always emotional. I mean, I am so passionate about my writing, and I'm also passionate about my characters. And so you can appreciate that the two main characters, Billy and Cynthia Tarwater, are immersed in all of this. Billy is a reporter and is assigned to the Atlanta child murder case, but on the side, he is pursuing this other angle that apparently has been, squashed, if you will, by the authorities. And as I researched all of that, and I studied in detail every black child who was killed, it has to be. I mean, it would be emotional for anybody. It's really hard to do that kind of research and then write about it without feeling a great sense of empathy for the families, a great sense of empathy for the children, a great sense of grief and anger, really, that all of this happened, in the late 20th century. It just it's disheartening in a way. I mean, frankly, I immerse myself in all my writing. This was my third book. I'm coming out with a fourth book, a novella, in April, and I mean, I'm really passionate, as I said, and I immerse myself in the work, and it always becomes emotional, especially when you're writing about crime. There is always a true crime basis for my writing, and it becomes quite emotional, and if you let it get to you too much, it can actually become traumatic.
Well, I could understand that. I mean, do you think this book raises questions about how law enforcement and media influence public perception, especially during that era, and how it compares to today's, just how we see media and social media really influence, public perception in regards to crimes?
I hope it does. I think it does, and I hope it does. I will tell you that I've thought about this a lot, so I really appreciate the question. If all of this were happening today in 2025, I think the situation will be different. I think it would have been much more difficult for, if indeed the the findings of the journalists are true. I think it would have been much more difficult today to squelch that, or keep it out of the public eye the way it was back in 79 and 80 and 81. I mean, the bottom line is a few outlets, including some television stations in Atlanta, picked up the story, but the story never really, the story of the journalists uncovered, the story never really got traction. Everybody was so consumed with the murders themselves and with Wayne Williams and with Wayne Williams' conviction that, as I said, aside from a few outlets, including a TV station here in Atlanta, it did not have legs, if you will. But with social media today, I just do not think that would be the case.
It seems like it during that period of time, too. Forensic science was completely different. We have so
Yes,
much more today. And so I'm sure the detectives were in many ways overwhelmed. And if they get one case wrapped up and done, then hey, we're good. We've got the information we have. And now we can look back and question if that's actually true.
correct. And I think that is precisely why our former mayor, Keisha Lance Bottoms, reopened the case. And I've done some digging, not a lot, because it all is sort of subsequent to the book, if you will. It's interesting to me that she reopened the case and ordered that DNA evidence be collected and tested, and then she decided not to run for reelection, and it hasn't gone anywhere. And so I find that a bit frustrating. And it's something that I intend to follow up on, but as I said, it really is subsequent to everything that happens in the book. So I have not focused on it a lot, but I want to. I would like nothing more than for the side story, if you will, that may very well not be a side story. It might be a compelling part of the case. I would like nothing more than for the authorities to really, and the media, to become interested in it and pursue it. Because I'm not questioning the conviction of Wayne Williams, but he may very well be sitting in prison, having been accused and, as I said, convicted in the court of public opinion for some murders that he did not commit.
Yeah, if we really think about it, I mean, perhaps the people that did commit these are still out there, and that begs the question: it's like, are we really prevailing with justice here?
Yeah, there may be some family members. I think the ringleader is no longer with us, but certainly some of the family members are likely still alive.
What would you like readers and our listeners to take away from your book?
Well, I will tell you the aside from all the stuff we've been talking about the whys and wherefores of the child murders and the fact that Wayne Williams may not be guilty of killing all the kids, there is a strong, compelling story of redemption that runs through the fictional part of the book, which is probably, if I if I would want readers who read the book to take away anything, that would be it. And I don't want to get into too much detail because I don't want to give anything away, but certainly as the story progresses and toward the end, there is a profound story of redemption.
Yeah, we don't want to give any spoilers here.
Yeah.
And I know we've been dancing around that.
And frankly, that is the source of the title as well. Deeds, you will know me by my deeds. It's sort of a sinister title, and I'll just say this and then leave it at that. There can be good deeds and there can be bad deeds. And I guess the reader will have to read the book to understand what I mean by that.
Well, Mike, I found your book what a impactful read. Where can our listeners connect with you and be part of your community and learn more about your work?
Well, that's a very good question. You can go to my website, which is Mike Cobb Writer, all one character string.com. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, BookPub. And though all of those links to my social media are on my website. So I think the first place to go is probably to my website. And there are also purchase links on my website to Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com. And I'm also in a few bookstores scattered about. Certainly, probably the easiest way to buy the books is through that. I'm also on Goodreads. So yeah, I'm pretty much out there everywhere, as any writer these days has to be.
Well, Mike, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
Thank you so much, Marianne. It's been wonderful.
Well, thank you, Mike. It's been such an honor to spend this time with you and to talk about your new novel, You Will Know Me by My Deeds. To learn more about Mike's writings and to be part of his community, please visit his website, mgcobb.com. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. You've been listening to Moments with Marianne, where we make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.